Hello and welcome into the Who's On podcast, part of the Saber Podcast Network. All right, it is still football season. We got a bowl game coming up in the Gator Bowl, but we're going to turn the page a little bit. We haven't had a full-on UVA men's basketball conversation in a while. We talked about it a little bit on the podcast here and there, but I wanted to kind of dive into it because I think Virginia, this men's basketball team, is coming off one of their most impressive weeks in the non-conference since they won that Las Vegas tournament, beating Baylor and Illinois back-to-back, getting wins last week against Texas, Dayton, and then most recently against Maryland, Eastern Shore, the powerhouse there. But I got Zach Carey, managing editor at Streaking the Line, coming back on here. Last time I did a full-on basketball podcast, he was on there for the preseason preview, and now just a couple weeks in, we're going to look at things. Zach, how you doing?
I'm good, Preston. Thanks for having me back on. Excited to talk some UVA hoops. Maybe, yeah, talk about something else than what's been in my thoughts for the last couple of days.
Look, we did a whole football thing. If you haven't listened to it yet, go back with Chris Wright from the Saber, talking about all the machinations of what happened on Saturday in the ACC championship, what we should expect in the bowl game, and everything like that. But we're going to talk basketball today because, I mean, really impressive week. First, you get an 88-69 win at Texas in the ACC SEC Challenge on the road, one of their largest road wins against an SEC team in quite a while. Then you get a win in Charlotte to start off the day. Nothing happened after that. 86-73 over Dayton, a really good Dayton team, by the way, and then wrapping up things with an 84-60 win over UMES. 3-0 week, really strong week for Virginia. That helped lift them up into the AP Top 25 at number 24, first time since February 2024. I believe you said that's, 665 days since they last were ranked in the top 25. So really strong
Yeah.
week for the Cavaliers.
Yeah. I mean, that was the math I did. Hopefully it's correct. Yeah, no, I mean it feels like this team has started to figure out its identity a little bit. And you're sort of seeing, like, I think especially the storyline over the last handful of games has just been the offensive production. Like, the defense is still coming along. They're not horrible. We saw what happened against Butler and against Northwestern a little bit as well, but they're shooting the ball well. They're sort of pressing all the right buttons offensively. I think the rotation has sort of not finally, but it's taken shape. And you're sort of seeing how Odom wants to use guys and what lineups he likes. Obviously, that will continue throughout the season and as we get closer to ACC play. But I mean, they're shooting the lights out right now from three, and you're still getting production from your bigs down low in the post and his rim runners. So this offense is really, really good.
Yeah, I kind of came away from that Texas game because that was probably the biggest surprise of the week, just how dominant
Yeah.
they were on the road. And the Moody Center is a pretty tough place to play at times. I mean, they get loud there, and it's kind of built to be a tough road environment. But the way that they played on the road, I felt like that was like that's what Ryan Odom basketball is supposed to look like, making the 3-point shots, the mini 3-point shots that they take, offensive rebounding, playing that full court press and kind of slowing down the other team's offense and trying to getting into their own offense. And I think they played well on the perimeter in that game too, better than they had been earlier in the season against, a decent team. We'll see what Texas looks like the rest of the way. The SEC will be challenging as always, but I thought that was like this is what Ryan Odom basketball is supposed to look like.
100%, 100%. I mean, I think Tony Bennett always talked about how defense travels. That's very much true, and I very much subscribe to that. But I think that Ryan Odom probably would like to say the 3-point shooting travels, at least when you have shooters like this team has. I don't know how statistically accurate that is in a general sense, but it's been true for this team for most of this season, and we saw that against Texas. The way that, like, one or two guys can kind of just get hot and then they play off of each other. Is pretty dang impressive. And there's also the benefit of the fact that they don't have to rely on 3-point shooting entirely because they have those guys that can get to the rim, that can play in the low post. And so, we'll see sort of like what happens when they play tougher guards, when they play guards that can score the rock, like, and facilitate and put pressure on you like Butler had, because I don't think that they've quite faced that challenge since that game. And it'll be interesting to see as we sort of Maryland, Virginia Tech, NC State come down the pipe here. And so that's the unknown. And then I'd also say sort of what happens when you also play some some bigs who are going to sort of challenge Ritter physically, and go at him and the centers and sort of try to get them in foul trouble a little more. We've obviously seen that. We've seen them struggle and get into foul trouble. They have the depth, fortunately, which we'll talk more about, I'm sure. But yeah, all things are pointing up for this team. It's just a matter of can they keep answering those questions as they come up.
Yeah, it didn't end up being a big storyline in the game, but I was fascinated by the matchup against Texas between Grunlow, and I'm not going to attempt to say the other guy's name for Texas, but he
Yeah.
was a big guy. Because like it looked like early on, Texas was just like, let's feed him the ball, get guys in foul trouble, and I thought Virginia kind of handled that matchup pretty well to the fact that it like didn't really pop up the rest of the game. Like it was like, oh boy, they're just hitting so many threes, it doesn't matter at this point anymore.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
like you mentioned, 3-point shooting wise, they've got I believe 6 guys right now shooting above 40%. That doesn't count Carter Lang, who I
I was
think
gonna say
what
justice for my boy.
doesn't count Carter Lang. He's only 1 for 2 for the season, so I didn't include him in that stat. But yeah, big time sharpshooter Carter Lang. Love that guy. Looking at a couple of the rankings, I mentioned that they're top in the AP top 25. By the way, we're not talking about football, but one of 7 schools ranked in the AP top 25 for both football and basketball. So, not such a bad world that UVA is living right now, athletics wise. Ranked number 17 in the net. That's a huge stat, of course. As the season kind of goes on, and we've seen in the past, ACC kind of gets behind the 8 ball in the net rankings in the non-conference play. So it's good to see that Duke, Louisville, North Carolina, Virginia, all up there in the top 25. A couple other teams not too far behind as well. And then all the analytics nerds, Ken Palm, Evan Miyakawa, Bart Torvik, all those guys have them around the same spot, 22, 23. So pretty consensus top 25 type team right here. The big thing for me, fifth in offensive efficiency right now. If that's where you're going to put your money, like that's a good stat to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously it differs across different platforms and analytics sites and whatnot, but they're scoring a lot of points per possession. They're getting a lot of offensive rebounds. That helps boost that stat a little bit. They're taking a lot of threes and making a lot of threes. So when you sort of combine all those things, and that's the thing is like Odom is analytically friendly, I would say, on
Yeah.
offense in particular. Not that that's always going to mean that you're a top 10, 5, 15 offense in the country, but he's implemented some things that we'll get into a little bit more as we go here that I think are just yeah, it's how you want to play basketball in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. The number 5 offensive efficiency, that's the highest Virginia's offense has been since the 2018-19 team. It was interesting, yes, also against Maryland Eastern Shore, they scored 80 plus points for the 9th time this season. No UVA team has done that since the 2018-19 team. This Virginia team, of course, is only 10 games into the season, so I imagine that there's plenty more 80 plus point games to come from Ryan Odom and this team. But Zach, what I want to do today is we're going to go through our 10 most intriguing things about UVA basketball this season so far. It could be a little bit good, could be a little bit bad. Just some things that are sticking out to us about this team. We'll each get 5 and kind of go back and forth here. As the guest, I normally would let you go first, but I'm going to go first today.
Sounds good.
I want to talk about kind of because a big thing coming into the season was what's the rotation going to look like? Yodom likes to play a lot of players. And it seems like we've kind of stuck with a 9-man rotation right now. Ever since Devin Tillis kind of returned and got healthy again, Elijah Gertrude has kind of fallen out of the rotation consistently. So it seems like we're kind of stuck at a 9-man rotation. And I think it's kind of, I like the starting lineup. I like the guys coming off the bench and how they kind of manage those minutes. I will remind people it's not about who starts, it's about who plays the most minutes and who finishes games.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's they're 11th among Power Five teams in bench scoring. They're getting that depth of scoring from guys off the bench, from starters. They can have different guys lead the team on different nights, and so it's not just like I think we knew coming in that Odom was going to play more guys than Virginia has in the previous 15 years, but it was kind of a question of like, okay, is he going to play more guys or are more guys going to be effective for you? Is it just going to be sort of a minute share for the sake of, pressing and resting guys? But no, like they have 9 legitimate pieces of this rotation that I think without one of them, things have to change. You know what I mean? So it's like That's good and that's bad. You have nine valuable guys on your team. That's a plus. And so, yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch. I think it has to be nice as a player. I feel like it's just good for the camaraderie of the team that you have so many guys playing the majority of the minutes, like so many guys playing over 20 minutes per game, to a point where like, there are fewer guys and I'm sure there are still some, but there are fewer guys sort of like, why am I not playing more? Why am I, and so you sort of avoid that. Obviously, it's the portal era. A lot of these guys are in their last year of eligibility, but yeah, no, it's a sort of another fun element of this team. We'll see, like, does Gertrude get more opportunities when they need someone to guard on the perimeter? Does someone else fall off when they play more athletic teams on a night to night basis? That's uncertain. Do they have to go deeper into the front court rotation if foul trouble pops up? But yeah, no, I mean this is a legit nine man team right now.
Yeah, before the season, I was talking about, how many guys are going to play 30 minutes a game on this team, and I thought maybe
Mhm.
one, maybe two. Right now, no one. Testa Ritter leads the team with 26.7 minutes per game right now. And interesting because I mentioned it doesn't matter who starts; it's about how the minutes are doled out. Can you guess who's third on the team in minutes right now?
I
It's
can because I have it up, but I'll let you
Okay,
reveal it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's Chance Mallory, the freshman point guard that everyone says needs to be starting. Well, guess what? You can still play the majority of minutes off the bench, and that's what he's doing right now, playing 24 minutes a game off the bench. That's more than Johan Grunlow, Sam Lewis, Malik Thomas, Jakari White, guys that you associate with playing a lot of minutes. And so it's Ritter, Dallin Hall, and Chance Mallory playing the three most minutes on the team right now. And I think that's just an example of how this team can kind of be balanced and play to the matchups on any given night and adjust the rotation. Like we said before, there's 9 guys that are playing 15 minutes or more right now. And I think that, someone said this the other day. It's like in the past with some UVA rotations, you're like, oh boy, we got to get through this guy's
Yeah.
minutes. We got to get through this guy's minutes, and we'll see how that goes. Right now, I feel confident in all 9 of those guys and whatever maturation that Ryan Odom wants to put them out there on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, each guy provides something a little bit different. Like that's also nice, and that like Devin Tillis comes into the game, and it's like, okay, he's gonna back somebody down like 3 or 4 times across his 15 minutes, and like, we'll see how consistent that is across the season. But like, okay, like that's fun. He's gonna fire away from three a little bit. Obviously Ugo Onyenso is gonna come in and block shots and get offensive rebounds. Each guy kind of has their role that's really well defined. Like I think that's one thing that you have to commend this staff for, and maybe they just got a lot of good players and good guys, and so it happened naturally. But like role definition in this era of college basketball, when you have so many new guys coming in, cannot be easy, and you have so many talented guys. The fact that they've sort of gotten everyone on board, and it helps when you're 9-1 and you haven't really lost, but that's been impressive too, in the way that sort of each guy knows what he's supposed to do. Jakari Weiss is supposed to come in, play 18 minutes, jack up a bunch of threes. He's hit most of them so far this year. So yeah, no, that's been a huge benefit for this team, and I think it will be as the season keeps going.
All right, I thought that got us off to a good start. Tee us off, Zach, as the guest. Now, what is your first intriguing thing?
I want to talk about Chance. I know we've already mentioned him a little bit. I'm going to keep the ball rolling here. I think that the way that he has played through 10 games this year has been much more than 10 minutes.
A lot more than
Much
10
more.
minutes, yeah.
Yeah. The fact that he's playing nearly 25 minutes per game, he's playing 9 minutes per game alongside Dallin Hall. Like that was something that I think is maybe a little bit surprising, honestly, but like that's the way that when you have Hall who can shoot the ball and Chance who can heat up the ball defensively and also create and make plays. I mean, listen, I don't want to like get out in front of my skis. It's something that I have a tendency to do in the early parts of the season, but like he is playing, at least offensively, better basketball than other like when Kihei Clark was a freshman and Reese Beekman was a freshman. Like obviously those are great all-time players for Virginia. He's been a better offensive player than now, maybe not as good defensively. We can have that debate. Reese was a different animal, but he's so composed. He's so under control. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He gets other guys involved. He's really good at attacking the rim and not the rim, but the basket and the paint. Draws a lot of fouls, gets to the free throw line, makes most of his free throws. For a 5'10" guard, like that's really impressive. He's tough. He's well built. I mean, he's just a special talent, and he's, as you said, he's third on the team in minutes through 10 games of his career. And especially, when you have so many guys who are likely going to be one year players for you, the fact that you have this building block as a true freshman for 3 years beyond this, hopefully 3 years, maybe fewer, is just, I mean, that's so huge and so important as Odin builds out this roster in future years.
Yeah, when I did a feature on Chance Mallory before the season, kind of setting the stage because I had talked to people and I had a very good feeling that this guy was going to play a lot of minutes for this team this year. This has
Yeah,
superseded my
yeah.
expectations even. To be one of the top guys on the team in scoring. I think he is third right now in scoring. He is second in assists. He leads the team in steals. I mean, we're just coming off the Maryland Eastern Shore game where he had 6 steals in a game, which is the second most in program history. Just an absurd game from him, and he's already impacted both as a shooter, a scorer, a driver, and some more analytics to kind of back up kind of the season that Chance Mallory is having right now. According to Evan Miyakawa, who I had on the podcast earlier this summer, he is leading the team in performance rating right now at 6.38. He has the highest offensive performance rating, and he is, let's see, he is, among, better on the team in defensive rating as well. So he's been really good on both ends of the floor. And would you want to guess what is the best two-man lineup on this
Mhm.
Virginia team at this point in the season?
I saw, I think I saw Evan tweet the best three-man lineup. I'm gonna go with, is it Chance and Dallin Hall?
Chance and Testa Ritter are the
Okay, that
best
makes
two
more
man
sense.
lineup. Yeah, that's the best two-man lineup right now. The best three-man lineup is DeRitter, Grunlow, and Dallin Hall. But
Yeah, that surprised me.
I'm sure Mallory's got some lineups right behind that. But it's just everywhere he kind of seems to fit into this offense. I think the one thing that the reason I like Dallin Hall still starting is because I think he's a veteran guy that kind of moves the ball, gets the offense going. It keeps it from getting stagnant like it did against Butler. But I think Mallory's getting a lot better with his ball movement as the season progresses. Like the guy is making leaps as we are watching, and
Yes.
I can only imagine where he's going to be by the end of this season. Not even going to talk about what's going to happen the next couple years at Virginia. All right, Chance Mallory, great one. Give me another one.
Okay. Let's see. I think all right, I'll go with a little bit of a stat nerdier one here.
Love it, love it.
They are taking far fewer mid-range shots than they have in the last 15 years. I pulled some raw numbers. So they're taking nine. These are numbers per Bart Torvik, and then I sort of broke them down per game. They're taking 9.9 long two-pointers per game. Uh, Over the last 3 years, that number was 15.6 per game. That doesn't take into account pace of play. They're playing more offensive possessions. They're taking 40% fewer long twos per game while playing more offensive possessions. Um, I think we knew that to some degree that Ryan Odom was going to come in and it was going to be a little bit more, dunks and threes and or layups and threes. But, as you sort of extrapolate from this season, a lot of these guys are going to be gone next year. Most of these guys are going to be gone this year. What can we sort of take away from this season, from this early part of the season where we don't know much and sort of build upon it and sort of like, yeah, take away for the coming years? I think this is one of the big ones, where he wants to play that efficient style of basketball. He wants to rely on players who are making plays around the basket and taking 3-point shots. Now, obviously, like next year, they might not have as good as shooters. They might not have Test Ritter banging down low. So maybe they're forced to take more long twos, and that's a less efficient shot, obviously. But it's nice to see this team be analytically sound in its style of play, and you can't just basketball isn't played on a spreadsheet. I know that. I've been probably yeah. I get into that too much probably, but it's nice to see this team sort of be able to play in the most efficient areas of the court.
Yeah, I could probably name the three guys that are taking the majority of those
Yes.
mid-range guys. It's Malik Thomas.
Yep.
Testa Ritter has like a one now where like he gets a quick pass and like puts a mid-range up shot up from the baseline right now. He's done that a
Hmm.
couple times in the past couple games. And then Sam Lewis surprisingly has had a couple mid-range jumpers. I don't know if there's anyone else in there, but like yeah, everyone else is like threes or layups. Like that's all they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So DeRitter is leading the team in long
Yeah.
twos. He's hitting 44% of them, which is a pretty good number.
Yeah.
Sam Lewis has I think he's second. Yeah, he's second, hitting 42%. Malik Thomas, very good in the mid range, 8 for 12 this year.
Yeah.
And so, they're being efficient, surprisingly enough. Uh, Ghana and Yensu, 6 for 11 on long twos. I don't really remember all of
I don't
those.
remember any of them.
So maybe these numbers are a little bit off, but no, it's just this is an efficient basketball team, and I've honestly like I think that there are times when mid-range shots are great. Like
Yeah.
it is the scorer's shot. You know what I mean? It's what Kobe Bryant did so much of in basketball is that if you can create your own shot, the shot that you're most likely going to create is a mid-range shot, and if you can hit it at a high clip, if you can hit it plus 50%, it becomes an efficient shot, which is why it's an efficient shot from Malik Thomas, who is a scoring guard. So not to say that you should never take mid-range shots or you should scream at the television when they do, because they're doing it at a low rate and they're hitting a high rate of them.
Let's go to the other end for my next one. Defensively, the Twin Towers inside are protecting the rim, but it's kind of very different ways. So UVA second nationally in block shots, and the majority, like 99.9% of those block shots are coming from Johan Grunlow and Ugano and Yensu. And it seems like the defense has kind of been just funnel everything into those guys and they'll take care of things on the back end. And it was funny at times watching that Dayton game when Virginia was going on their big run. Dayton was just kind of getting into the paint and just throwing stuff off the backboard like you're playing like horse from the free throw or like you're playing you're playing what's that game? Shooting
Knockout.
you're playing knockout and you're just like chucking the ball off the
Yeah.
backboard. That's what it looked like Dayton was doing because Onyensu was back there and they just couldn't get anything over him. So they're just like throw it off the backboard. Maybe someone gets a offensive rebound or something. But the way these guys do it is very different. Like Grunlow is just so positionally strong in how he goes about it. He's one of those guys that plays straight up. So he doesn't pick up a ton of fouls that way. I think Onyensu is just kind of the athletic, rangy, long shot blocker that's kind of moving around the paint and
Yep.
getting stuff. So it's fun to watch just how differently these guys do it. And Grunlow 2.9 blocks per game, Onyensu 2.7 blocks per game right now. It just seems like if anything's going into the paint, they have a really good shot of swatting that away right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the strength of their defense. I think we knew that this team was going to be a
It
shot
is the
blocking team.
defense.
It is the defense, absolutely. Like they are fifth in the country in block rate. Like that is insane. I think Onyensu is like second in block rate, and Grunlow is 16th. So two guys in the top 20. That's like practically unheard of. And nobody else over 2% of a block rate. Testa Ritter, I think. I'm not sure exactly how many he's averaging per game. But it's not a lot. Yeah, 0.4 blocks per game. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's those two guys cleaning things up on the back end. And yeah, I mean, it's a benefit to have. You don't want to rely on that. Like there are times when it's like, okay, like maybe they could just guard a little bit better on the perimeter, but beggars can't be choosers when it comes to style of play. So yeah, I mean, those two guys are just special. The length that they have, sometimes on Yensu in particular, like he can give up some offensive rebounds when he's sort of coming across the basket, coming across the paint, and either misses the block or only gets a piece of it. But again, they're not giving up too many offensive rebounds. They haven't totally been killed by that. We'll see if maybe they are at some point, something to watch. But yeah, I mean, that's just another fun part of this team, fun thing to watch.
Yeah, no two teammates have combined for more blocks than Johan Grunlow and Ugano Onyenso in the country. There's only three players in the ACC that are averaging at least two blocks a game right now, and two of them play for Virginia back there. So the Twin Towers are exceedingly protecting the rim. You just hope the perimeter defense can keep people out of the rim so they don't have to block everything.
Yeah.
The other kind of stat that I wasn't sure how quickly this would take off, it's obviously something that Ryan Odom wants to do and wants his teams to do is offensive rebounding. At times, it feels like they're playing make it, take it out there with their own shots. And I know it's a lot of three pointers, so some of those longer rebounds, but they're 10th in offensive rebounds nationally right now. And it seems like most games, Johan Grunlow finishes with more offensive rebounds than he does defensive rebounds. And the defensive rebounding is still a concern kind of as we go throughout the season. They're getting better on that end, but the
Yeah.
offensive rebound is, I mean, like every single possession, like you're just seeing Jakari White and Chance Mallory and Sam Lewis just flying through the paint and reaching up and grabbing an offensive rebound. So, offensive rebounding has been as advertised for Ryan Odom's team so far.
100%. I mean, they're sending all five guys, and I sort of think about it like if you think about like an offensive line and a linebacker filling those gaps, on a run. Um, they sort of their guards, especially on long threes, like to sort of fill each gap and get between defenders. And then obviously you have the bigs. I guess in this analogy, like the bigs or the defensive linemen. I feel like someone could do a better job of this than I could. But the defensive, yeah, they're the defensive linemen getting the push up front, and the linebackers come and fill the gaps. So yeah, no, it's fun to watch. Did they get killed in transition a couple of times? If teams make some smart outlet passes, yeah. Could that come back to bite them? Yes, but I can stop with the caveats. They're so good on the offensive class, and they have so many tough big guys who can go do that.
All right, I went two in a row. What's your next one?
I mean, I think it's. I'm going to go with another guard that is just really fun to watch. And it goes into a larger theme of the fact that they have so many guys who can step up. We talked about this a little bit, but the fact that they have had six different leading scorers in games this season, the fact that they have, I think, six guys averaging over 9 points per game. It's just like Jakari White. I think I had a tweet in the preseason, whatever scrimmage they played at home. I was like, Jakari White's going to play the most electric 18 minutes per game that you've ever seen. Jakari White is averaging 18 minutes per game. He's shooting 50% from three. His effective field goal percentage is 70%. He's also making 50% of his 2 point shots. Not great at the free throw line, but we won't talk about that. He is just like the perfect shooting guard to bring off of the bench, and like we talk about, like, okay, who's playing the minutes? There's a difference between starters minutes and being a starter. He's playing, let's see, the seventh most minutes on the team. So like Chance Mallory has sort of surpassed him as that sixth man. But like, they play such a deep rotation that maybe you just have six starters and then you call Jakari White your sixth man. I don't know, or your seventh man, whatever. He's just so fun to watch. He's been electric these last couple games. What he did against Dayton, I mean, that was just so fun. I wasn't there, but it was so fun watching the crowd react to him every time that he took an open three or a contested three, frankly. The way that he can take shots off of the dribble, like, I don't want to get crazy here, but like, the way that he shoots off balance threes reminds me of another UVA shooting guard from the last 6 or 7 years. I'm not going to throw a name out there, but you can infer, yeah, he's so fun to watch. He's athletic defensively. I think he's getting better within the team defense. Still not great. But maybe as the season goes on, maybe he could start to be a little bit of an answer for when you play those quicker downhill scoring guards on the other end. And so just a way to wax poetic about Jakari White while also mentioning, this team just has a lot of different guys that it can go to if they need points.
It was probably one of the best, if not the best, heaters I've ever seen in
Yeah.
person. Maybe Carson Edwards against UVA in that Purdue game
Boy, yeah.
um, back in the Elite Eight. But Jakari White, like, not only were people like celebrating like when he was shooting, they were celebrating when the ball just touched his hands. Like they were like,
Yeah.
something's gonna happen here. Like he's gonna put a shot up. And like there were times when like he would pass the ball up, and you're like, oh, like everyone, you could kind of hear like the crowd be like, oh, just shoot another one, like you're on fire. But yeah, I don't know if you can win a category like this, but in the preseason we did picks for fan favorite, and like Chance Mallory, like that
Hmm.
seemed like an odds on. Yeah, absolutely. But Jakari White was mine, and like I don't know if you can like you know like
Declara, yeah.
argue with. I don't think you can declare a winner, but like you can't really argue with the guy has his own fan section there with the Jakarmi, which is the best thing that has happened in like
Yeah.
UVA basketball fandom in a few years now. Like
Since
it's fun to
BVP,
yeah.
since the BVP shirts, right?
Yep, yep, with the mustaches and all that stuff. That was a great one. But yeah, the Jakari has been a great addition to the fan base, and Jakari White's been a great addition to this team. And like you said, the movement, shooting, and some of the step back threes, like you can kind of tell he's like, all right, he's loading up for a step back three, like the one he took against Dayton. He was on a big, and you're just like, all right, I know exactly what's going to happen
Yeah.
here. Step
He's going
back
between
three.
the legs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nothing that the big could do. He just stepped back and drained it. He's been one of the best stories of the past week for Virginia, just with that game that he had, but also just really gives this team that extra depth. And you mentioned six different guys leading the team in scoring this season. DeRitter kind of got off to a fast start for Virginia, and he was like the guy, but now it's Sam Lewis, it's Jakari White, Chance Mallory, Malik Thomas, and it just kind of seems like it can come from anywhere at this point. Next one that you got,
I'll talk about the defense a little bit more. I think,
we should.
you know, yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Like the stat that I pulled is they're 349th in the country in average length of defensive possessions. So they're having on average much longer defensive possessions than other team. It's around 18.6 seconds per Ken Palm. That's right on track with where Virginia was last year, and it's not far off from sort of where those like core Bennett teams were. Those were maybe more in the sort of 19 to 20-second range. Now they're doing it differently. It's because of the press. It's because of shot blocking. Maybe you can extrapolate a little bit of some improved perimeter defense. It also doesn't help that sometimes they do give up offensive rebounds. So maybe this isn't the perfect number to talk about. But they're not super bothersome defensively. Like this was an interesting number. Like they're 243rd in defensive turnover rate. They're not great at taking the ball away with steals like Chance Mallory is, but there aren't a lot of other sort of bothersome on-ball defenders that this team has. And so I'm just really interested to see sort of like how this defense evolves as the season goes on. We've talked about the shot blocking and how that is sort of the strength of this team. I think that the press is another sort of like it's just a kind of a cheat code that Odom employs that can sort of yeah, it just takes pressure off if that's a couple seconds per possession across 60 or 70 possessions in a game. Like that's a lot of time that you can sort of take away from an opposing offense. You have Mallory, a guy who can do it. Clearly, everyone is sort of bought into doing that. They don't take the ball away a lot, but it's also like then you don't give up transition on the back end. And so, yeah, it's sort of interesting to see like what buttons they will continue to press. I think they'll continue to literally press the press button. And yeah, we'll sort of see from there. I think there are some encouraging signs. There are also just some like question marks that we're not sure about, like specifically with the perimeter defense, as we've talked about extensively on this episode and even preseason.
Yeah, you talk about that average length of defense possession there. To my eye, and I haven't done the numbers or anything. I feel like they're getting just as many shot clock violations
Mhm.
as they did the last few years. Maybe not peak
Yeah.
Tony Bennett defense, but like
Yeah. Right.
it feels like they're still getting those shot clock violations. People are still taking shots, and
Yeah.
as a pun there. Uh, but all right, moving to this next one. I just threw this one in there because I think it's an interesting topic to talk about. Preseason, we were all very confident in one player kind of being maybe one of the go-to guys on this team, and it hasn't quite taken off that way. And I'm interested just to kind of look further into his game right now. And that's Malik Thomas, averaging 21.7 minutes per game right now. He is second on the team in scoring still at 11.8 points. But the last couple games, especially in this past week against Dayton and against Texas, he was an early sub for Ryan Odom in those games just because it didn't look like it was kind of fitting his style of game. It didn't look like he was fitting into kind of what they needed to do out there. And so they subbed him out pretty quickly in those games. He still, made an impact later on, but it's been an interesting start for Malik Thomas so far this season. Hasn't quite gotten off, especially after what we saw in the preseason, those two exhibition games. Like he was scoring at will, and it seemed like, okay, yeah, this is the go-to scorer that they went and got out of the portal, but it hasn't quite settled in yet as the season's progressed.
Yeah. I mean, he's shooting like 31% from three. That's unexpected. I mean, he was close to 40% his 2 years at San Francisco. So I would expect that number to just that to come back up naturally, just sort of over time. I think, we've seen him attack the rim and as we talked about, be decent in the mid range and sort of creating his own shot. And that's why that even when we're sort of talking about him maybe not being meeting as high of the expectations that we had preseason, he's still the second leading scorer on the team. I think defensively there have been some question marks. I think that's maybe why you've seen Dallin Hall hasn't been incredible defensively either, but I think that maybe leads you to play more two-point guard lineups where you have Chance in there, but you still have the three-point shooting of Hall, and sort of some more, facilitators out there. But I still think the time will come for Thomas. Like, can he be a good team defender? Can he heat up the ball a little bit more? That's what I'm curious about. I think that will lead to him playing more minutes. And at the same time, like if Jakari White is hitting 50% of his threes and Sam Lewis is hitting at a high clip too, it's kind of hard to like keep those guys off the floor. And so it's interesting. It's an interesting balance where they just have a lot of good shooters. And Thomas gives you something a little bit different while also not being super efficient from three so far this year. So I still have confidence that he's going to be playing 25, 26 minutes per game in conference play. Uh, we'll see though. I mean, I think the three-point shooting will improve, and I think that maybe that will allow him to be in a little bit more of a rhythm as a whole.
Yeah, the one spot where he's really helped Virginia is when things aren't kind of clicking offensively and they kind of things get kind of gummed up. He's a guy that can create off the dribble and get to the rim and get in the mid range like we've mentioned before. I think a couple times this year he has not gotten foul calls at the rim, and I'm not sure what's going on because it's like seems to only be him, like DeRitter and Mallory and all these other guys are getting foul calls at the rim, but he's not. So interested to see why that's the case. All right. We both have had four. We each have one left. Zach, what's your last intriguing take?
Well, I hate to sort of stay a little bit negative. I feel like we've talked about a lot of positives with this team. Let's talk about the free throw shooting. They've drawn a good number of fouls. We talked about Chance Mallory, the way that he's gotten to the rim. Tester Ritter has as well. And for such a good shooting team, like the fact that DeRitter is hitting 42% of his threes and 64% of his free throws is interesting. Malik Thomas is at 75% on his free throws. Again, like he's been a career, what, 85% free throw shooter. So like that's a little bit surprising. I think this is another average that will sort of just come back. Like, I mean, Sam Lewis is hitting 68%, Ugo Anyenso 67. Maybe that's a little bit more expected. Johan Grunlow, 47% of his free throws, like while shooting, I mean, he's not, he's shooting 30% from three, so maybe he's not exactly as advertised, but I still think that he's like a good shooter who should be able to hit those. And so yeah, I don't know, Preston, do you have like they're getting to the line at a high rate, which is good, and I think that you would think as the season progresses they will improve, and I think we've seen them improve in a couple of games, but also at times like they make 60% in a game, and that ends up being 10 points they left on the board.
Yeah, no, that's been probably the most surprising thing about this season and kind of how it's gotten off. They're 248th in the country in free throw shooting percentage right now as a team. Yeah, DeRitter, it's a wild ride anytime he goes to the free throw line, and he goes to the free throw line quite consistently. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of points that you're leaving on the board. Malik Thomas, when he does get to the free throw line, it seems like it's not as consistent as you would have hoped. Even I think Chance Mallory is shooting one of the better percentages on the team, but like this is a guy that was like 90% plus in high school. So you're
Yeah.
expecting maybe a little bit better than that. Dallin Hall's leading the team with 82.4%. I won't count Devin Tillis, who's at 100% so far, but long may he reign. Yeah, the free throw shooting has been kind of just a wild ride for this team, and it looks like it is costing them 10 points a game, like you're saying. And some of the theory is, well, they're pressing all the game, so
Mm.
maybe like they're a little leggy. But I would say, like, I mean, what does every single middle school, high school, college basketball coach do in practice? You shoot free throws at the end of practice when you are leggy, when you are
Sure.
tired. So I don't think this team is unpracticed in those moments, shooting free throws late. But yeah, I mean, Grunlow being 47.1%, like they're going to have to hit some more free throws as this season goes on. There are some good teams that are below them as far as free throw shooting, like Villanova's down there as well, and
Mm.
a couple other teams. But Yeah, you would like to see that number bump up a little bit as we kind of go on in the season. Last one for me. We haven't really talked about him as much as a player, so let's talk about him now. Testa Ritter has kind of been as advertised, and it's interesting because like there's some games where it's like he's not really kind of in the flow of things in the early going, but still at this point in the season, he's averaging 16.1 points per game, 6 rebounds, shooting 55% from the field, 42.3% from three, the 64% from the free throw line. But overall, like I've continued to be impressed with his footwork and as well, there's some times where he makes some questionable passes, but I think there's also some times where he does stuff that I don't think we've seen another player of his size do in a Virginia basketball uniform, like bringing the ball up, going behind his back against that Dayton press in the last game. I was struggling. I was like, I don't think I've seen another Virginia basketball player do that. Like someone threw out there
Yeah.
DeAndre Hunter, but like he wasn't a good like dribbler with the ball until he got to like the NBA.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that was the interesting thing with Dre and what sort of made, not to relitigate 6 years ago, but why it made Virginia better when he was at the four, because he was stretching the defense and then could dribble drive against bigger players rather than quicker guards. And yeah, but yeah, DeRitter's he's a different type of player. Don't love the four turnovers against Dayton, but that was a larger team issue. Um, yeah, I mean, he's such a big body, like, and it's not even the height, it's the weight, like just 240 pounds that he's thrown around down there, while being quite skilled and good around the basket. I mean, like, we can talk about the free throw shooting, but like the easy ones that DeRitter and Grunlow just convert around the rim is just like, it's really nice. Even when they have, I say easy ones, but just like the close ones, even with a body in the way of them. Yeah, it just makes his offense so much more efficient. And he he kind of has like the complete bag that you'd want for
Yeah.
like that sort of like powerful low post four. And so, I continue to like to see him step out and shoot from three a little bit more. He's hitting 42%, just not on. He's on 2.6 attempts per game. So yeah, I mean, he's 100% as advertised. The foul trouble, the turnovers, those are sort of two things that you'd like to clean up, maybe, or just an adjustment to playing college basketball. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's the best player on this team right now, and probably will be for the majority of this season. And yeah, he's just like, he is the reason that when the shooting goes cold, they don't just completely flail around offensively. Like there are times that they go cold and then they take 25 threes in a game. And it's like, okay, guys, you've hit four of them. Let's maybe throw the ball inside a little bit more, just because I think that is the point of emphasis from Odom and the staff to shoot yourself hot, or at least to just keep shooting because that's efficient basketball. But yeah, DeRitter is such a luxury for this team to have.
I just can't think of another guy in recent UVA basketball history that was this size that could create offense from the perimeter like this.
No,
Like they
no.
are running pick and rolls with him. They are letting him take guys one on one. His footwork when he gets into the paint is just immaculate, which he has talked about before, is because he started his career as a center. And so like he's worked on his post up game before, and that's kind of where he gets that from. But it's just been really impressive to watch, and I think it's going to be fun to see once we get into ACC play. Now, Virginia, Maryland Eastern Shore was their last game. They have their little finals break now, and then they come back and play Maryland, which is not the hyped up game that we were expecting to see right now. Maryland is what are they now in the net rankings? Like 167th in the country. They are behind
Yikes.
illustrious programs like South Dakota State, who is 3-5 this season. UT Arlington. No shade on these teams. Montana State, who is 2-6 this season. I mean, this Maryland team is slow off the blocks in year one under Buzz Williams. It'll be nice to see Buzz maybe in JPJ, but yeah, that it's not the marquee matchup I think fans were hoping for with this Maryland game coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a beat up on Maryland any day of the week. So I'm fine with that. They've lost some blowouts to some better teams than Virginia so far, like teams like Gonzaga, Alabama, lost by 19 to Iowa. So like they've lost to good teams. I guess Georgetown is that early blemish for them. Um, yeah, I would like to see Virginia go at them. They do take a lot of free throws, and so they draw a lot of fouls. That's sort of what they do on offense, really. And so that'll be a test for this Virginia team. They can sometimes be a little bit foul happy, but yeah, I'd love to see them keep taking and making a lot of 3-pointers against. I'm 22. I feel like I came of age in the era when Maryland left the ACC, but partially because of lacrosse, as a lacrosse fan, even when I started watching, they were an ACC team, and then there's still been a rivalry there. I have personal reasons that I'm not a big Maryland guy, but yeah, no, I'm very excited for this game, and even with Maryland maybe not being up to par, yeah, and Buzz Williams is fun. He's fun to watch be 5 yards out onto the court on every possession.
We'll have to watch that in this one. Yeah, I Maryland has always been kind of one of my favorite rivals for Virginia, and it's sad that
100%.
they don't play more often. It's such a regional rivalry.
Yeah.
Um, you can say what you want about UNC and Virginia Tech. Like it's a different kind of feel when Maryland and Virginia are playing in some of these sports. Leading the team in minutes right now for Maryland is old pal Elijah Saunders playing 29 and a half minutes right now for the Terrapins. So he will make his return to JPJ, averaging 8 points, about 5 rebounds a game right now. So
Yeah,
about
that's
what
that's that's an interesting one. I mean, that's a guy that like seemingly wanted to come back and
yeah.
like be with his coaching staff. Now he comes back to Charlottesville, a little revenge game, maybe Testa Ritter just like handles him. That'll be a fun matchup.
That's a fun, yeah, bigger guys that going up against each
Right.
other. So that'll be fun. It'll be a fun game. But we got a little bit of time before we get there. We've got some bowl prep going on with the football team, so we'll be talking about all that here on the Who's On podcast. But wanted to get in some more dedicated basketball time because we had the time, and they've had a pretty good week recently. So Zach, appreciate you coming on here and sharing some of your most intriguing things about UVA basketball so far.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a good time.
All right, that'll do it for the Who's On podcast this week. Remember to hit the bell icon, subscribe on YouTube to the Who's On podcast YouTube channel. We've had some great ratings in recent weeks and love to keep that up. Follow, subscribe, leave some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Love reading some of those 5-star reviews, so keep on putting them in there. Keep on commenting on YouTube. Love interacting with everyone, and we will see you next week.